regardless of your circumstances. You know, you can't force people into becoming Christians. God loves all of us the same. He wants to cleanse us from unrighteousness, clothe us in His righteousness, and give us His gifts of eternal life. And by knowing that, God uses us to deliver this amazing message to the lost. Quite frankly, your mission field is everyone around you. When you're in public, most of those around you are lost and headed for eternity in hell. Their lifestyles, goals, aspirations are decidedly different from the truth of God's Word, and it's normal to interact with them without thinking of their eternal destiny, without realizing God has supernaturally brought you together for His purpose. Here's the game changer. When you're living your life for God's purpose, He orchestrates your steps and the steps of those He's leading to you. It's a divine appointment, and God is counting on you to show up. Ignite your life. Go to igniteamerica.com.
There are many ways to say,
I love you, Mom.
I love you, Mommy. I love you, Mom.
we have an idea. Enter our Moments with Mom contest for a chance to give your mom, mother figure, or yourself a $550 gift package, a gift certificate for a day at the spa, and a $100 gift card to a variety of restaurants will go to a mother who reflects the love of Christ. Go to moodyradio.org/Cleveland or text MOM to 440-546-2255. We'd love to help you say,
I love you, Mom.
Could you use monthly payments to help meet basic needs, like putting food on the table, paying the rent, or buying new shoes for growing feet? Find out about Supplemental Security Income. You may qualify if your income and financial resources are low and you are 65 or older, or an adult or child with a disability or who is blind. Call 1-800-772-1213 or go to ssa.gov/SSI. Produced by Social Security at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Last Friday night, I was asked to talk on the devastating effect of pride and the positive spiritual effects of humility.
That's TWR President Lauren Libby, and this is Get Hope.
Now, humility in a true spiritual sense is realizing who I am in light of who God is, and then recognizing that I'm ultimately a servant, a body in which the Holy Spirit dwells, and I'm becoming more like Jesus as I live in His awareness and presence. Aggressive humility, aggressively taking action for the Lord, and yet living in humility, realizing that Jesus is the authority of my life, is a secret to a healthy spirit and heart. Being healthy spiritually gives rise to hope.
In today's chaotic world, isn't it good to know there's hope? And if you'd like more hope, Lauren Libby has resources available, including a free 30-day devotional he'd be happy to send to you. Get yours today at gethoperadio.com. That's gethoperadio.com.
The following is a test of the emergency alert system. This has been a test of the emergency alert system, providing timely emergency warnings. This station serves Northeast Ohio and Northwestern Pennsylvania areas. This concludes this test of the emergency alert system.
For your spirit, soul, and body, it's Mornings with Brian, live from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studios. Good morning from Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
Over 130 cardinals are convening today to elect a new pope in a secret ceremony at the Sistine Chapel. It's 6 o'clock. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. The papal election is called a conclave, and it dates back to the 13th century. The election of a new pope will be signified by white smoke from a chimney installed in the chapel. Unsuccessful votes will be signified by black smoke instead. And ballots were cast in primary and special elections around the Buckeye State yesterday. Among local results, the Bay Village City Schools levy proposal has passed, while a levy for Parma City Schools appears to be headed for defeat. Also, among local results, an issue in the Springfield local school district has passed, while voters in the Twinsburg City School District have said no to one there. And the Akron Summit County Public Library issue was a winner. Statewide issue 2 has passed as well. In sports, a last-second three-pointer broke the hearts of Cavaliers fans as they lost to the Pacers 120-119. The Nationals and Guardians split their doubleheader. Washington took Game 1 10-9, but Cleveland rebounded with Game 2 9-1. And the Pirates got edged by the Cardinals 2-1. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Mostly cloudy with areas of fog this morning, then becoming partly sunny, and it's going to be warmer with our highs around 70 degrees. At last check, cloudy and 50 degrees in Cleveland. Fog reported in Akron and Canton where it's 50 degrees. Fog in Lorain and Elyria as well, and the temperature 51.
It's time for your Moron Moment.
Are you inundated with emails offering just what you need? Usually, you've brought this on yourself, but there is relief in sight. In Gmail, type unsubscribe in the search bar and boom, there's every promo list you forgot you signed up for, ready for you to nuke with unsubscribes. No word yet on if that works with other mail clients, but give it a try and find out. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 6:02 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ron Eastwood.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Good morning. Wednesday is upon us. That means Dr. Rydelnik will answer your Bible questions from 8 to 8:30. Have we heard from Cam yet?
Not yet.
Cam's been a little slow on the draw the last couple weeks.
Cam, hope you're okay,
He's
brother.
busy.
Yeah, it must be busy. He's got a bunch of kids. 440-546-2255. You could beat Cam to the front of the line if you wanted to.
Yes. It's a rare opportunity.
Now, Ron.
Yes.
It must be time to open the pool or close to it.
Yeah, I'm trying.
What do you mean trying? Don't you just open it? You pull the sheet off the top and...
Oh, sick.
Isn't that how it works? Like you take the cover off and then voila.
Yeah, it's supposed to, but
oh no,
you've got leaves that fall, and so we got a net that covers over the cover, and that catches the leaves. And then several times over the course of the winter, I would put up a hose to siphon off the water on top of the cover, so that it didn't get too much. The first time I just let it go, and the snow and rain would just continue to build up and push more water out of the pool.
Oh.
So then I had to refill a lot, and if it gets too low, you run the risk of the sides caving in.
Or you don't want
support.
that. So you had to go get a siphon so you can siphon off the liquid from the top of the cover.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now I'm ready. If The Walking Dead would come to reality, I can get gas out of tanks.
Yeah, because you know how to siphon.
I know how to siphon.
Do you do the whole thing where you suck on it and like spit everything out?
Yeah.
You didn't actually buy a cheapo siphon that you can start with a pump?
Oh, no. I did it organically.
Ron's not going to spend any more money than he has to.
That is true.
Just
that
quick,
is true.
Quick pausing the story. Would either of you siphon that way if you had to siphon?
No.
Yeah, I don't think I can do it.
Bugs, algae.
Yeah. Like people do it with gasoline, and you just go,
that's
"Are you
crazy.
okay?" I don't. This is my favorite Lauren question. Are you okay?
No,
they won't be for long.
So now, Ron, it's just you get a hose and you just get it started, right? And then it just pours out.
I attached it to a pole so that it would go straight, and I could kind of direct to the deepest part of the water. I did have a couple of sore throats over the winter that might be related to sucking in algae water.
Ronald.
Maybe, and in fact...
That's possible.
Ron, not to like... Okay, so I've actually looked into this. I have some siphoning needs at some point. Mm-hmm. It's a longer story for a different day. They're pretty cheap on Amazon to get one that just has a little hand pump on the tube that starts it.
Yeah, that
Let's
would be
get
wise.
that for next year.
That would be wise. I don't know that I would get it, but...
No more drinking algae.
I might have gotten sick, but I don't think I'm going to do that.
I'm not going to spend a dime more.
It's worth it to be sick.
Probably just gargle afterwards. I'd be okay.
You have some salt in there, gargle it.
Dana, if you're listening, your husband needs one of those little pump things.
Father's Day is coming in June.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
But
or just
anyway,
because.
Yeah, just because gift.
I did get the covers off the pool, and stuff fell off of the cover into the pool because just the way I drug it off, the pillow rose up too high and dumped it. So anyway, I had gunk in my pool. I've been trying to sweep it up, and...
With the big long net.
No, I've got like your filter system. You can hook a hose onto that, and then you've got a pole and the head of the hose put down there. It can sweep off the floor.
Oh, cool.
Because ours is not smooth enough to use one of those robotic jobbers.
Oh, so, gotcha. Yeah, the little guys that swim around at the bottom.
Yeah.
Clean, yeah.
Underwater Roomba. But I went out yesterday. I thought, okay, I'm going to go out and get to work on this. Put on my swim trunks because we have a heater. So I've been trying to keep it heated. I went, checked the heat. It had shut off in the storm yesterday, and it was down to 74. And I thought, no.
That's cold water.
I'm not going back in. I went in at like 78 and worked it for a while. And your body gets numb. The hard part is getting in. And
oh, yeah, of course.
Take a couple steps down the ladder, and then you splash up a little higher. Then you take a couple steps.
No, you got a cannonball, bro.
That's the only way in.
All the way in, or no, I'll never get in.
So, yeah, I failed on my quest yesterday to finish cleaning it out. But I got to know when the grandkids are definitely coming and have it done by then.
You've given me so many more reasons now to not have a pool.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea of it, and I admire you for doing it because your grandkids think you're probably like the greatest thing on earth for it. But like getting in cold water is one of the things I just don't do. I've reached a point in life where I won't do it anymore.
You don't have to.
And my reason is awkward. I spent so many years, like my parents would do a water park thing for the kids every Christmas. And so my brother and I would go stand shin deep in freezing cold water in a water park in the middle of January and be miserable.
Was this an outdoor water park?
No. When you go to indoor water parks.
Like the Kalahari or something like
that.
that.
Like you need a sweatshirt on to be comfortable, but you can't really do that in the water. So, and when you have children, your primary function is make sure they don't die. So you spend your day in swim trunks.
Standing nearby
children who keep trying to drink the water.
Yeah.
Drown in it.
Yeah.
And you're up to shins in cold water with very cold air. And so I said to myself, I will never do this again. We go to the beach. I'm not getting in. I was forced into the water for so long. I'm not doing it.
This water that is so freezing cold, your kids are playing in it completely submerged, right?
Yeah. I don't know how they do it. They love it.
That's crazy.
I don't know. But anyway, Ron, I admire you.
Thank you.
And you're tougher than me. I'm never going to siphon water like that either, unless it's the zombie apocalypse and I'm really thirsty.
I do have more layers of insulation than you, so I've got that going for me.
I'm working on it. I gained a little weight in my last checkup.
Oh.
First time in my life. Pretty exciting. I guess 45, 46 is the threshold for my genetics.
Yep. Those bad habits taking effect after 36.
Yep.
Better cut down on the ramen.
No, I did because you told me to. Don't ever say I don't listen to you. You have a new obsession.
Yes, I do.
I'd like you to share your new obsession.
Okay.
And it's not even a show you can watch on like Netflix.
No, I call it my show, but it's not my actual show. It's not a show.
Okay.
It's a man on TikTok.
Okay.
Quit his corporate job. Suddenly. Bought a sailboat. Wait, how did he buy the sailboat? Emptied his 401k. Bought a sailboat and is sailing from Oregon to Hawaii with his cat named Phoenix.
Wow.
The poor cat had no choice in the matter.
They're very docile. They can get used to that kind of thing.
People are always very worried about the cat in the comments, and he'll show the cat. She's like chilling.
Living her best life.
Yeah, she's loving her life. She's sleeping, finding little tiny nooks and crannies under the sailboat to sleep in.
Wow.
So I'm just watching all his videos.
How's he doing?
It was pretty rough sea for a couple days, he said. For the first 3 days, it was like pretty rough.
He's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, just yesterday or the day before, I don't know, one of his rudders stopped working. Yeah.
You don't call for a tow truck?
Yeah, so he had to like go underneath and was like working on it for like several hours.
Does he have like scuba gear?
No, like underneath, like in the mechanics part of the boat.
Oh, I thought he had to go like underwater and get down there and
in the mechanics part of the boat.
Punch sharks while
one of his sails, something broke or ripped, and so he spent, I think he said 4 hours fixing that.
And that's fun?
Yeah, I guess.
Now,
so
why
he spent
is he
a
doing
year,
this?
so he didn't know anything. He bought a boat, didn't know anything about sailing. Spent a year training himself how to sail.
And just said, I'm going to go to Hawaii from Oregon. Yeah. That's quite a trek.
Yeah, because he had a medical thing where he learned that something in his spine where he could soon be paralyzed. And he's like, well, I'm not doing this corporate job anymore. I'm going to go do what I want to do.
Well, I still can.
So now he's sailing
by
himself.
Old is he?
I don't know exactly. Probably my age, just a little bit younger maybe. Between me and Daria's age.
Wow.
That's young for a midlife crisis.
Yeah, he said he'd been working at this corporate place for 11 years. So he's probably closer to my age.
I'm just too anxious about what do you do at the end of this journey? Like, he's going to be Magellan. He's going to go around the world. And, I mean, it's going to take a long time, but, what do you do after that? He's got nothing left.
Keep going. Could go around the
just keep going.
Coast of the Americas.
Look for donations.
He's developed a TikTok following, and if
he's making money there.
Grows enough of that, he'll just pick up other adventures to do.
Yeah, he was on live yesterday, and at one point he had 12,000 people watching him live, and they're all just giving him money.
They are?
Yeah, he had a GoFundMe also raised for like this whole year of like learning. It was like $10,000. It's $25 when I looked at it last night.
Wow.
$25,000.
So is this inspiring you to do something similar,
No, of
or
course
you're
not.
like just living through him?
No,
knowing
I'm
you-
not doing that.
Why aren't you? I have my reasons. Why aren't you going to do that?
I would die. That's not what I'm good at. I'm not sailing. I'm not good at sailing.
Well, he wasn't either. He learned. You're a smart person. You could figure
Not
it
to
out.
sail.
This is actually Jimmy's dream retirement for us. He wants to build a catamaran and then just have us go clear around the coast of the U.S. And I said, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah, he wants to go on the coast in a catamaran.
In a
there's
catamaran.
you can't hide anywhere
Well,
in those. Can
knowing
you?
full well that his wife gets very seasick.
Come on, honey. And I'm pretty sure a catamaran, it doesn't have like a cabin, right?
I don't think so. I think some of them do. I don't know.
It's like the party boats in Mexico.
He's like, I'm going to build that and we're going to live on it. And I said, you can live by yourself.
Wow. So if you guys could sell everything and go on an adventure, what would you do? I'm not getting on a boat in the Pacific by myself. The end. It's not anywhere near my dream.
Yeah, it's like, it was like 2,500 miles or something like that from Oregon to Hawaii. And he's like, I'll stay there 6 months to a year, and then I'll go. He wants to go to French Polynesia after that.
Well, I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
And he's just building up the cash from all his followers to go
Yep.
some resort, I guess.
It's probably not even that much further than Oregon to Hawaii.
He's seen whales.
Whoa.
He's seen like
He must
swordfish.
have like
Very
satellite.
cool.
He must have like
Yeah,
Starlink.
he's using Starlink.
Wow.
I'll show you some videos during the break.
Yeah,
It's very exciting. I'm so excited for him. I would never do that.
My dream is much smaller. It's more like I would like sell, liquidate the 401k and like just finish all my projects at home. I got too many things I want to get done. I don't need to go sell it all and get on a boat and die.
And I just have trouble with the whole concept of liquidating your 401k.
Yeah, that sounds horrible. It's a backup plan for every person who has one. But it's like there's no backup to that backup. It's over after that.
Yeah. And if this guy's in his 30s, he better hope that TikTok stays viable and isn't forced to sell to some American company that ruins it and takes all the profit away, or he's going to be out of luck.
He's probably pretty captivating. I mean, I'm boring enough that I think I'd totally fail at this. People are like, this dude, would you get to Hawaii already?
I think he's just that person who doesn't care about his 401k. Like,
mean, if
he's
you-
just not the person who's like cares about that.
I want to be that person.
If you're the type of person that can sell everything and live on a sailboat, I'm sure you can figure out how to do a pretty minimalist life. Assuming he, his disease progresses and he does become paralyzed, then, he probably still has time to build up enough of a 401k to survive.
You guys worry about your 403B or whatever we have?
Yeah, all the time.
Yes.
Okay, good. I was over here like, young people these days don't care about things. And I'm over here like,
But if he was miserable in his job, he's been there 11 years, and he's just sitting at his job thinking about sailing around the world. He doesn't care about his 401k.
what if we took the show on a boat? We could
No.
all liquidate our 401ks, get a bigger boat, hire a captain, and we could do the show
Ron
on there.
will fix the rudders.
I will be seasick.
Yeah. Yes.
Daria will take care of the boat cat.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do. You're going to run everything.
I'll climb onto
You'll be
the
in
sails and
charge.
fix them.
You're going to be like up in that, you're like in a pirate ship. They have that round
The
thing at the
crow's
top of the
nest.
mainsail. You're going to be up there telling
I'll
people
do
what
that.
to do.
Right.
I'll be taking a nap, getting ready for the show.
Right.
We've solved it. Okay, good. 6:20 coming up in a few minutes. We got to talk about church attendance. There was a number of stories out there and surveys about church attendance. And maybe we'll circulate back to our developing dream of taking
It's not my dream. I
the
don't wanna
show
do that.
not on the road, on a boat.
On the open ocean.
Ever wondered if there's a way for Christians to meet their healthcare costs affordably and efficiently? A biblical lifestyle alternative to traditional healthcare options? The answer is Christian Healthcare Ministries. They've enabled believers to live out their faith while embracing a voluntary health cost ministry for over 40 years. It all starts with a visit to chministries.org/Moody to see how CHM meets values and healthcare costs. Get more information and have your questions answered at chministries.org/Moody.
In this culture full of contradictions and false teachings, how do we align our hearts with God and His Word? For answers, we have a letter for you to read. Paul's letters to the Ephesians and Colossians. This May, join Today in the Word and devotional author David Sutton for our study, Chosen in Christ. Join this month's study. Go to todayintheword.com or download the new and improved Today in the Word app.
Download the all-new app at todayintheword.org or in your app store.
Hey, my name's Brant Hansen. I'm an author and radio guy who did something about 15 years ago that changed my life. That is when I first visited a Cure International Children's Hospital. What Cure is doing to heal the sick and proclaim the kingdom is so brilliant. It's so profound. It is the most Jesus-shaped ministry I've ever seen. More people need to know about it, so I'm really glad you're hearing about it right now on Moody Radio. Please check it out online. It's cure.org/Moody. That's cure.org/Moody.
Good morning, Cleveland. Thanks for choosing us to help you start your day. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
.625 WCRF. Fictitious scenario. I need you guys' help with this now. We're going to pretend that we are the leaders of a research institute.
Okay.
We're going to call it That Girl Incorporated.
TGI.
That Girl Incorporated. And we're going to do some surveying on church attendance.
Okay.
So we have to define our terms first. Okay? So we're going to assemble the brains of the operation, all four of, well, the three of you. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
What we need to define a regular churchgoer. What level of church attendance do you think would qualify someone to be categorized as a regular churchgoer?
I think at least twice a month.
I was going to say 3.
I'm happy with both of those. You need me to be the tiebreaker?
Well, no, I'm just curious about your thoughts. I want to break this down now. Okay, so you're saying twice a month is regular?
Yeah.
You're the low standards Daria is what we're going to call you in the team.
In this day and age, I think twice a month is quite a lot for how a lot of people live their lives.
Well, let's change the paradigm then. I'm not thinking about in the world today. I'm thinking in your Christian mind. what would count as, like, if you're hanging out with Jesus and his disciples, what would count as regular church attendance? You're a regular churchgoer. You're going to change your answer, or you're going to keep it the same?
Ideally, I think, yeah, with Ron, you should be going at least 3 times a month.
So you get one Sunday off a month.
I mean, you shouldn't strive for one Sunday off.
It's like at Moody, it's the skip day, students call it. You get how many skips? Okay. Are you changing your answer? Anybody else?
No, I think 3's good. That gives you get sick, your kid gets sick, things like that come up. You can't make it to church.
Lauren?
I'm good with 3.
3, okay. I thought
And
you guys were going to say weekly.
That should be you should be going 4 weeks out of a month. But like Ron said, if we're considering, you get sick or whatever, it's not that I only go 3 times a week and on the 4th I just like relax and don't go.
You got to have a compelling reason.
Yeah.
So if I'm reading between the lines, you guys are allowing for sickness when you say 3, but the ideal is 4.
Yeah.
Right. That's your goal.
So the goal for a regular church attender would be at least weekly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you look at Lifeway research, they tried to figure out how Americans view this idea and how Protestant churchgoers and how pastors view the idea of what counts as a regular churchgoer. The highest level of standard would have been at least weekly. Okay? Interestingly enough, if you just survey U.S. adults, 53%, over half, think that to be considered a regular churchgoer, you have to go at least weekly. And they would agree with your principle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing they're thinking more principle than practice. They're being less gracious.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are so gracious. Protestant churchgoers, it gets higher. 59% of Protestant churchgoers think you have to attend church at least weekly to be considered a regular churchgoer.
Oh, at least weekly. So they're saying
weekly.
you should also be going on Wednesday nights or Thursdays or whatever you have.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a regular churchgoer, you're not just like going on Sunday, you're involved. Mm-hmm. Almost 60% of Protestant churchgoers say that's the case. Here's where it gets really interesting. Here's the twist. Pastors were asked this. How many thought that you need to attend church at least weekly to be a regular churchgoer? 16%.
Really?
Wow, they're very open to slackers in church.
Only 16%. So you have not only Protestant churchgoers, but just random Americans dramatically disagreeing with pastors. Pastor standards, only 16% are like, you got to show up at least weekly to be a regular church attender.
Well, the word regular means on like a routine,
on the regular
schedule basis.
So technically, if you only go on Christmas and Easter, you're technically a regular church
regular
attender.
for you.
So how do you explain this?
I wonder if it's because they're just used to people not going, so they've kind of lowered their standards for what it means to be a regular church attender. I'm also wondering if they look out and just kind of see eyes glazed over, and they're like, I'd rather you not be here than be completely disengaged.
That guy's not here. He's somewhere else. So you're saying just the state of the world, they're lowering their standards maybe to feel better about themselves.
Maybe.
I wonder if there's an element of wanting to pad your numbers for publicity's sake, so you can say we have, a couple thousand regular attenders, because there's a couple of thousand people who come once a month
Or within the course of the year.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder too if are the pastors drawing a distinction between members and regular attenders, because you can have a lot of members that might show up just a few times a year.
Or people who aren't members but come every single week.
Yeah, I don't think membership played into this. It was just that broad category I gave you of what would qualify someone to fit into the category of regular churchgoer. What does the pastor's kid say about why pastor's standards would be so much lower? I'm putting you in a category of authority now. Pastor's kid, Pastor Tim is your dad. Go for it. Why is this happening?
I think because they see people that do want to be a part of church, but they are also torn between personal life stuff that has so escalated in the last 10 years or something, of personal life things that happen on Saturdays. And so they see Billy, who does come to church, and you know that he's engaged, but he's being pulled in other directions too. And
Okay.
Billy doesn't know what to do about it.
I feel like I've influenced you a little bit. This Billy person sounds fun. Kind of like Jimmy. Are
Yeah.
they friends?
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, so it's their standard is lowered because society has changed so much. Expectations of their congregants in life are higher. And then even like Ron and Daria say, maybe they're just feeling a little bad and they don't want to feel like they're horrible, so they're lowering the standard in order to feel better.
Maybe.
Could be. Okay. So what about actual church attendance? What does the data say about church attendance? Well, I've got some answers for you on that. We'll get to it here in just a few minutes.
I'm Barb Karayan, and this is Pause for Prayer. No one likes to lose. We don't like to lose in a game. We don't want to lose our job or a wedding ring. We don't want to lose our wallet or purse, our health, or even our skin elasticity. We certainly don't want to lose a friend or a parent. Losing blanks. You fill in the word. But Jesus tells us in Matthew 16, "For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it." Would you pray with me? Heavenly Father, losing can be a painful part of this life, and most of us strive to avoid it. But we know that your word tells us repeatedly that when we lose something for your sake, we can gain something better. Jesus, for the joy set before you, you endured the cross. You lost your life so that we might gain an eternity with you. Thank you, Lord. As we face losses, would you give us vision beyond the situation? Would you give us hope that we might see a resulting gain in this life, or maybe we must wait for heaven? Would you give us courage to deny ourselves, to take up our cross and follow you, Jesus, knowing your plans are far better than anything we would purposefully plan for ourselves? Would you strengthen our trust and faith in the process? Though we may be facing a loss right now, you have a blessing for us around the corner and are preparing us for a greater work. As we offer ourselves, our hopes and dreams to you, God, may it not be in vain, but may we be like that kernel of wheat that when it is put in the ground, yields a harvest beyond imagination. Lord, today we surrender the loss that we are facing and ask you to use it to bring life in some way that we can look back and be thankful for what you have done. All glory to your name. Amen.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Claire from Trinity Debt Management. I'm a counselor, and the reason that I love working for Trinity is because I get to help folks with one of the hardest problems a family can face, and that's financial difficulties. In this day and age, everything is going up. You have higher utilities, higher grocery bills, higher fuel, and those credit card interest rates have gone up as well. We can help you with that. We can help you get lower interest rates, lower monthly payments. In just a few minutes, we put together a plan that gets you out of debt and keeps you out of debt. I love my job. It's a great program and a very smart way to find debt relief.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-659-9838.
I'm Claire, a Trinity counselor. Call me and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-659-9838.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland. Looking at today's issues through a biblical perspective.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
639 WCRF. I was minding my own business yesterday.
Not likely.
And I went over to Garrettsville Main Street Barbershop, hanging out with my guy Chris. He's cutting my hair, and I was about to leave. He goes, "Hey, dude, Mother's Day is Sunday."
Oh.
I was like,
how nice.
This guy's got my back. Mother's Day is Sunday. Is everybody ready?
Yes.
Sarah's done something smart this year. She knows the kids are not going to be great about remembering to do stuff. So she's spending the week one at a time telling them what she recommends they do for her for Mother's Day.
Wow.
She's like, "Hey, Sophia, you know what I really want for Mother's Day? You to give me a pedicure."
Okay, hey.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows you can say no to your mom?
Right.
So she's going, this is pretty smart.
Mm-hmm.
So pass that along to Dana.
Ron already warned the children, he said.
Yeah, but Dana doesn't need to have hopes and expectations. Just have clarity.
Just say it plain.
Yeah.
"Hello, son. It's your mother. This is what I would like you to do for me for Mother's Day." What is he going to say? No? I love it.
She got a gift from Dolly recently.
Aww.
She was over taking care of the kids at their house for a while. And Dolly put together several Legos and gave it to her. "Here, Mimi." And Dana says,
Aww.
"Thank you. I'll put it here on this shelf or something." She goes, "No, I'd like you to put it by your chair."
It needs to be seen at all times.
Dolly is so cute.
Yeah.
It's there just in case you get a hot flash like I do, Grandma.
Right.
It's a story from another day. Dolly, I think she gets hot flashes. It's cute. Okay, I bring that up because we have a Mother's Day contest. They're going to do the drawing on Mother's Day, I guess.
That's when it will close, yeah.
Yeah, so you can text the word MOM to 440-546-2255. Text MOM to 440-546-2255. We'll send you back a link, and you can register for your chance to win a spa gift card and a restaurant gift card. All right, so we're chatting a little bit about church attendance today. And Tom Rayner, who used to run Lifeway Research, love his stuff, smart guy, good writer, likes a good list, as do I, because it's less reading. He has come up with a comparison for us. He compared 2008 and 2024 church attendance. 2008 and 2024 church attendance. And we're going to go through some of the data here. And there's categories. People who attend weekly, monthly, yearly, seldom, and never.
What's more seldom than yearly?
This is a good question, okay? So the yearly people are considered the casual church attender, the ones that are like Christmas and Easter.
Big holidays.
Yeah, they're the high holiday attender, the Creasters, the CME Christians, however you put it. The seldom category I thought was kind of interesting. Seldom is people who only show up at church for life-altering events.
So weddings and funerals and baptisms.
And he even included in this, as an example, September 16th, 2001, the first Sunday after 9/11. There's a category of person that will go to church when things are getting real, real rough out there. And then there's people who will just never go. Okay? So he wanted to compare what happened in all these categories, weekly, monthly, yearly, seldom, and never, in church attendance between 2008 and 2024. So weekly attendance, 2008, 31% of Americans were going weekly. 31%, 2008. 2024, 25%. We're down. 31 to 25. Monthly attendance. 2008, 10% of Americans were doing that. Now, 7.
Is that at least monthly, or they only go monthly?
Well, so it's more. It's less than weekly, but at least monthly.
Okay.
So that would be, it went from 10% in 08 down to 7% now. Now you have the yearly attenders, the high holiday people. 2008, 16%, went down now to 13%. Seeing a trend? Now the seldom, the zombie apocalypse, I'm showing up. 9/11, I'm showing up. 2008, 24% of Americans. Now it's down to 21%. Only one category saw a big increase.
Yeah, that's what's left.
The never. In 2008, 20% of Americans were, I never go to church. Went from 20% up to 34% now. It seems as if all the losses in every category just dumped into never or something. I know that's not exactly how it worked, but so we're seeing church attendance down across the board, no matter who you are, whether it's weekly, monthly, yearly, or seldom. The only category really thriving is the never go to church category. What's going on?
I mean, I think it's just the continual post-Christian trend of our country.
Okay.
And I think even a lot of people that would classify them as Christians don't prioritize church attendance.
Yeah, and that's where Tom Rainer seems to think that part of the problem is that we've gotten loosey-goosey on emphasizing regular church attendance for believers. He didn't say this, but I think the pandemic was it was kind of like, when you break a routine, it's hard to get it started back up again.
Right.
I think that gave people I'll go most of the time.
Every church, any size church, no matter how big or small your staff is, or if you only have a pastor, you have a live stream. Every church has a live stream now.
Pretty much, yeah.
They just kept it after COVID.
And while I think it's a good alternative for shut-ins and for the sickness and stuff, I think the consensus has grown to, you shouldn't do that unless you're sick or shut in or have an issue or whatever's going on. It shouldn't be like you're, once a month I just stay home and I watch at home.
Right.
Do you? Now, how do we fix this problem? Or is it unfixable? You know what I mean? To me, it could also be a reflection of people. There was the social pressure to go to church is totally gone.
Right.
And so
that's true.
So everyone is regressing to what they really are. The people who went weekly who didn't really want to now feel freedom to do that. And the people who went monthly, now they're just like yearly people or whatever. So how do we fix this problem, though?
Serve better coffee.
You're the coffee guy.
I am. We have 3 different brands each week, plus decaf.
Options.
Lauren and Eddie suddenly are going to attend church. Any pour over, Ron?
No.
Oh, there are.
Could you imagine Ron in a little apron doing a pour over for us?
In a little tea kettle thingy? Yeah.
Yeah, it's all commercial bun machine. You just pop the grounds in and pour the water through.
So how do we...
I think COVID just accelerated the already happening trend of post-Christianity of our country. It just accelerated it because, like you said, those people who didn't actually really want to be there, now suddenly it's okay to not be there.
They got out of the habit and they never got back.
Now, Tom Rainer thinks we ought to target the monthly and yearly attenders and try to remind them that church attendance is more important than they actually practice. He thinks that's the 2 categories that you could actually reach.
But I'm not sure that words or guilt is going to bring them back. You have to coax them back with something they want to be there.
So, well, and he has 4 suggestions on how to do it. Okay, they are add faithful attendance as an item to your prayer ministry. Pray for it. Okay, now that that's out of the way. Second, do your best to identify those who are monthly and yearly attenders, and when your church has a special event, specifically reach out to those infrequent attenders and invite them back. Make them feel like it's the greatest place they're going to be. Okay? And third, emphasize small groups or Sunday school classes consistently because data indicates those people get plugged into those will be more involved. And finally, stop apologizing for faithful attendance. As in, pastors, raise your standards. Stop capitulating to people attending less and be clear. You should be regularly attending church. Make it a consistent message to people that come into church. You should be here. It's
a core part, a main part of being a part of the Christian community is attending church.
Yeah.
Community is in that. And a lot of us, I think even people that attend church regularly have lost that, but it's especially important for people that don't think they need to go. They're not plugged in either because they don't want to be or because their church is not properly offering opportunities for them to get plugged in. I'm not sure what.
Yeah, he thinks that pastors have become more apologetic about it, and they've been avoiding emphasizing it because they're afraid of sounding legalistic. And so he doesn't hear many pastors emphasizing the importance of weekly church attendance. I don't know. I mean, it could be part of it.
Someone texted in order to get people back in church, we need to reach the children. If kids want to be there, the parents are more likely to come.
There's some truth in that.
Yeah, I mean, I told you maybe like a year ago, 6 months ago, I saw 2 posts in 1 week on random Facebook pages in my area of parents saying, I've never been to church, I'm not a churchgoer, my kids are really interested. Where can we go? Anyone have any place we can go? I want my kids to be able to do the thing that they're asking. I don't know where to go.
That's interesting. Yeah, and you know, my church does this cool thing where they have like a summer sports camp, and they have VBS, they have some other stuff, and it's really fun. Kids actually like it. It's not like you're forcing me to do weird stuff. And I think that can be an invitation for the casual church attender.
Yeah, our church, Jimmy and I volunteered at this massive community family event that our church hosted a few months ago, and got to talking to some people that had never stepped foot in the building, and they were interested in the kids ministry and said, we'll probably come this Sunday. So anecdotally, those kind of outreaches work. That's great.
Yeah, and I think it'll help. And are you guys comfortable with this idea of pastors being more, is strident the right word, about you need to do this? This is an expectation of a believer that you do that.
I'm fine with it. If they're like just someone who only comes on holidays and don't care to claim that as their church, they're just coming with a family member or something, not them, but if these are people that are saying they're a part of your church, you've met with them, they have some connection to your community, yeah.
Right. Don't make it like a special point at Easter. Well, I see a lot of new faces here. You know, you really ought to be here every week.
Yeah, Easter is not the time for that message. Just drive the gospel home and pray that people will be compelled to come next week.
Very good. All right, it's 6:51. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I have some updates from science that are going to make Daria feel sad. So Daria, grab some tissues, and it might make us giggle a little bit. So it's not that big of a deal. Don't worry. I made that sound pretty sad. It's not like she's not going to weep. But buckle up, Daria.
Moody Radio's thankful for support from listeners and businesses like Deerfield Ag Services. They help in adaptation of new technologies and techniques of farm and business management. More information about Deerfield Ag and how they can help is at deerfieldagservices.com.
Let's see, if something costs less, a lot less, but people are actually happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard joining MediShare can save you or your family up to $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true. People are just happier with it. They love being part of something that reflects and promotes their values and what they believe in. MediShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years now, and members have shared more than $7 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network, so yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care, whether you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan that you're happy with. Here you go. You can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. It's 877-58-BIBLE. That's 877-58-BIBLE. 877-58-BIBLE.
Moody Radio is thankful for support from businesses across the country, like Fellowship Home Loans. Whether purchasing or refinancing a home, Mike and Brian walk hand in hand with clients through the whole process. You can learn more about their approach to mortgage lending at fellowshiphomeloans.com.
They say family knows you best. Here's Brian's older brother with a message for you.
I always knew my little brother had the gift of gab, and he proves it to you every morning.
It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Daria, you should probably sit down.
I'm already sitting.
You should probably slump.
Stand up and then sit back down.
Yeah. In fact, could you please do that?
No.
Can you slump a little bit? Or?
No.
No? Okay. Well, Daria is our resident Gen Z. She is, and when women are young, you can do this, and it's not offensive at all. She's 27. Right? Did I just offend you?
I'm okay.
That's still young.
I know what you're about to say, though, and I'm about to get offended.
I'm okay.
We don't share how old Lauren is. She's entered a phase where we no longer bring that up because it's not complimentary anymore.
See, that makes her sound really old.
That's
Lauren
rude.
is not that much older than me.
I didn't know that until you just said it.
Throwing your age around?
I don't care.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
Ron, you go ahead and tell them how old Lauren is.
She's a mother of 2.
I'm 32.
Whoa.
Totally fine.
Whoa. Okay.
I'll always be younger than you, so that's all that matters.
That is true. So you remember a couple of weeks ago, Daria, when we found out that science was saying that your brain is fully formed and you're an actual adult at 27. Remember that?
That was several months ago, but go on.
And we celebrated. Because you did it.
I
You
did.
made
And
it.
I turned
Daria's an
27
adult.
in December.
Yeah, we were so happy.
Daria's an adult, except, sorry, science just issued an update. Daria, scientists now argue that calling anyone, quote, a fully formed adult before 30
Formed?
before 30 is more social myth than biological fact.
You guys keep moving the goalposts on me. It's not fair.
No, it isn't.
I own a whole house.
That's so rude. It's like, if you're Jewish, it's 13. If you're of Latin American descent, it's 15.
Listen, 100 years ago, you had 17 and 18-year-olds marching off to war. Are they not adults?
It doesn't
Then it
mean
was
they had,
18.
but it doesn't mean they had a fully developed prefrontal cortex. They don't.
But does having a fully formed prefrontal cortex mean you're an adult?
Yes.
Or is that just a...
It doesn't happen
They don't
until
have to
you're-
correlate.
your late 20s or early 30s. One Cambridge neuroscientist, talk about authority, Peter Jones, he said, to have a definition of one of when you move from childhood to adulthood looks increasingly absurd. It's a much more nuanced transition that takes place over 3 decades.
Okay,
I'm
sorry,
Daria.
I don't buy it.
We're on kids these days.
Well,
They don't
then
believe
I would
anything.
still, then I would argue, I still get to be on my parents' insurance. I still get to live at their house. I
I'm
still
sorry.
get to do this. I
You're
still get to do
32.
that. I'm just saying.
You've already passed it.
I'm not saying for me personally.
Yeah, good, because
I'm
you can't.
Would you let me speak?
So we're calling full maturity the mark of an adult, something you never achieve in your lifetime.
Well, prefrontal cortex.
Some people never have that, seems like.
Ron and I-
I've met teenagers that are well beyond a lot of adults. Okay.
Wow.
So if the science is true, why are we making adolescents still do all kinds of stuff?
Yeah.
That's very adulty stuff.
Teenagers everywhere are like, awesome, I'm putting my feet up. I'm
Right.
basically a toddler.
Right.
Yeah, my kids. Daria, are you okay? Need a hug or anything?
No, I don't think you should come near a minor.
Oh, good point.
Oh, that's very good. Dr. Steve Grcevich, a psychiatrist, will be here in a few minutes to talk to the children on the team and the rest of us about brand new research on gender dysphoria.
It's Mornings with Brian, live from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studio. Whether it's your faith or your health, you don't have to journey alone. WCRF, Cleveland. WVMS, Sandusky. WVML, Millersburg. WVMN, Newcastle. WVME, Meadville. WVMU, Ashtabula. And with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says traveling without a Real ID compliant card will still be permitted for now. It's 7 o'clock. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. Noem shared the information while testifying before a House Appropriations Subcommittee. However, she also noted individuals without proper identification will likely face additional steps before they're permitted to travel. The full enforcement date has been pushed back repeatedly since the law was first passed back in 2005, and it is finally slated to take effect. Authorities are investigating the death this week of a Cuyahoga County Corrections Center inmate. The 39-year-old woman suffered a medical emergency at the jail this past Friday and was taken to Metro Health Medical Center, where she died on Monday. And the Ohio Department of Transportation is working with partners to distribute thousands of bicycle helmets again this year. Roughly 13,000 helmets will be handed out to kids throughout local organizations in 61 Ohio counties this summer. In sports, a last-second three-pointer broke the hearts of Cavaliers fans as the Cavs lost to the Pacers 120-119. And the Nationals and Guardians split their doubleheader. Washington took Game 1 10-9. Cleveland rebounded in Game 2, winning 9-1. And the Pirates got edged out by the Cardinals 2-1. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Mostly cloudy this morning, then becoming partly sunny. Widespread areas of fog this morning. You can keep an eye out for that. Warmer with highs around 70 degrees. And at last check, cloudy and 51 in Cleveland. Akron and Canton cloudy now, 50 degrees. Ashtabula has fog and 48.
It's time for your moron moment.
Are you inundated with emails offering just what you need? Usually, you've brought this on yourself, sorry to say, but there is relief in sight. In Gmail, type unsubscribe in the search bar and boom, there's every promo list you forgot you signed up for, ready to be nuked. No word yet on if it works with other mail clients, but try it out and see. And that's your Moron Moment.
Moron.
And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 7:03 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcast. Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
WCRF, Mornings with Brian. You may be thinking to yourself, that Brian, he needs to see a psychiatrist. Okay.
We have one on retainer.
Yes, we do. He's in studio right now. He is founder and president of Key Ministry. He's also a child and adolescent psychiatrist, which is quite fitting for me in many respects as well. Welcome back, Dr. Steve Grcevich.
Thanks again for having me back.
So we're going to talk about a brand new study of studies from the Department of Health and Human Services in just a moment. But to get there, I think we got to emphasize that you're a guy who loves, and I think I'm making up the term, but maybe not, evidence-based medicine.
Yes, I used to teach that on a regular basis before discussing the topic we're going to be addressing this morning.
So what is evidence-based medicine?
So evidence-based medicine, is essentially a study or an approach to providing patient care that prioritizes treatments that are validated by well-done, scientifically designed studies, and trains physicians and other healthcare providers it gives them an approach to reading and interpreting the medical research to help guide them to the best outcomes in their treatment decision making.
Well, what about your feelings though? You're not as prioritized and like, I feel like Brian needs.
Feelings are not facts.
Feelings are not facts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I tend to be more of a fact type guy.
But now if I came into your office and was like, I've got a sniffle, I feel like I want antibiotics. Can't you feel compassion for me and just prescribe them? Just write the script. But that's not evidence-based medicine, right?
Well, that's true, but it's interesting because there's very much a divide in terms of how people in medicine see their role and see the purpose of medicine. There's a doc named Farr Curlin at Duke who has written a book called The Way of Medicine about this. So that traditionally, the way that doctors have thought about medicine is that our job is to promote health. There is a different way that the medical system increasingly thinks about, and the population thinks about it, which Dr. Curlin has described as the provider of service model. And so that essentially in the provider of service model, the individual person is best positioned to decide for themselves what they want or need. The role of the professional person, if it is legal, if it is technologically possible, the role of the doctor in this system is to give that you have a responsibility to give people what they want, regardless of your value system or regardless of whether or not you believe it's in their best interest. So that this is the logic behind, for example, in Canada, the argument that physicians are morally obligated to assist their patients in committing suicide if their patients ask them for such help.
I mean, just from a layman's perspective, that sounds totally dumb.
But it ties into our discussion today.
Correct. Yeah, and because our discussion today is about the issue of gender dysphoria, and you've been on here before talking about this, gender dysphoria, particularly in children. America was really shifting and has shifted its perspective on how to treat gender dysphoria in children, yeah?
Well, there is a public awareness that in some circles that Europe is significantly shifting in its approach to treating gender dysphoria, but the medical societies and the large hospital organizations in the United States have been very resistant to considering the perspective on this that has been implemented over the last year or two in Europe. And that's part of what this new report that there was a report that was issued this past Thursday by the United States Department of Health and Human Services. And this was commissioned by an executive order that President Trump issued the week after he was elected to review the evidence and best practices with regard to gender-affirming care.
So it's not, let's do a new study on gender-affirming care. It's let's collect all the data that exists and analyze it.
Exactly. So that there was a group, there was a team of like 9 doctors, I think included an ethicist, specialist in statistics, that was commissioned to look at all of the published research that's out there. And
across the world?
Across the world.
So we can look at the European data.
Oh, yeah. So that they had free reign to look at anything. And in fact, there had been a large review that included 8 meta-analyses, or like what another word for that is like it's a study of studies that had been commissioned by the British Health Service and was released last year, that led to them deciding to stop giving puberty blockers to kids with gender dysphoria and to use cross-sex hormones only on a very limited basis. So the U.S. report expanded upon what was reviewed in the CAS review in the United Kingdom.
So it's bigger than the UK.
It expanded upon it, but it also addressed some additional issues or assumptions related to gender affirming care. So that one of the things, I mean, if we were to go ahead and summarize it, some of the key findings was that the evidence that any of this stuff helps kids is considered to be of low or very low quality from a scientific basis. So that like our gold standard would be like a meta-analysis, so that you have multiple, prospective controlled studies with comparison groups, over an extended period of time showing that these treatments work. None of that exists when it comes to this stuff with kids.
And you knew that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I knew that. The CAS report, out of the UK had described this. All of these countries in Europe are shifting, like with their socialized medicine systems, where they're not doing this stuff anymore. But yet the medical community in the United States, if you look at like the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Endocrine Society, the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, has been very resistant to change and continues to insist that these are life-saving treatments. So that in addition, when the Health and Human Services Review emphasized the point that there is no evidence to support that kids will kill themselves or at any higher risk of suicide if they are denied access to the gender-affirming care.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just what happens when you do the care, it's what happens if you don't. And what they found is there's no risk if you don't.
Well, there's no increased risk of suicide that they could detect.
Gotcha.
And the reason why this is important is that when clinicians in these gender clinics are working with families, what they have communicated to families, typically to get them to buy into these treatments is, would you rather have, a dead daughter or a live son?
Ugh.
And have argued on the basis of extremely limited evidence that, one of the things that we do know from previous studies, there was an older study like 20 years ago in like Sweden, 30-year study of adults that showed that, adults who transition, their suicide rate's 18 times that of the general population.
Oh, boy.
Well, and going through, there's some evidence in adults that some people describe feeling happier and describe like, a greater sense of well-being, but there's no evidence that it reduces the suicide rate. So that was one of the statements that our government had issued in the report that came out last week. One of the other issues that they raised is the process through which our professional societies come to the determinations that they make with regard to evidence-based care for kids with gender dysphoria, and that they specifically cited evidence that oftentimes this is shaped by small committees composed of docs who are actively engaged in providing this care, that tend to have undue influence over the professional societies, that they described, and they cited specific incidents in which the professional societies have attempted to suppress other doctors and other researchers who had opposing views on these subjects by refusing to platform them, by refusing to allow them to speak or to present at conferences. And they had pointed out that the treatment guidelines that these professional societies often cite are based upon reviews. For example, there's a group called WPATH, which is the World Professional Association on Transgender Health, that they specifically had written their guidelines in such a way to try to advance availability of treatment, and that in many instances this was guided more by politics than being guided by science.
It's 7:17 on Mornings with Brian on WCRF. We're up against a quick break. We'll come back in just a minute with our friend Dr. Steve Grcevich, president and founder of Key Ministry and local child psychiatrist, as we analyze a brand new study out from the Department of Health and Human Services about gender-affirming care for minors.
Pastors have to make tons of decisions, including what to do to meet healthcare needs for themselves and their staff. Christian Healthcare Ministries specializes in making healthcare decisions easy and affordable. Not insurance, but a health cost sharing ministry for over 40 years. CHM opens the door for individuals, families, and yes, pastors to be a part of a biblical way to meet medical bills. Get more information and answers to your questions at chministries.org/Moody. That's chministries.org/Moody.
This is David with the ministry India Partners, and since teaming up with Moody Radio, here's the impact that you have made. Girls as young as 8 have been rescued from a hopeless future and work that no one should ever have to do.
When I first got to the safe house, I was so happy to be safe and out of the red light area. I felt love like I had never felt before.
They're given 3 meals a day and life-saving health care.
When I was brought to the safe house, I didn't even weigh 50 pounds. I feel so healthy and safe here, safer than I ever knew I could be.
Plus, you've made a kingdom impact.
I also remember going to church for the first time. Now I read my Bible and worship Him every day.
And these girls know how it's all possible.
Thank you, Moody Radio.
Learn more about how India Partners is rescuing girls from being trafficked. Go to indiapartners.org/Moody.
It's a no negativity zone on Moody Radio Cleveland and Mornings with Brian.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
722 on WCRF, Mornings with Brian. In studio with us, the founder and president of Key Ministry and local child psychiatrist, Dr. Steve Grcevich is with us. We're talking about a brand new study published from the Department of Health and Human Services, commissioned by the president, to review all existing data about gender-affirming care in minors. So essentially, if I'm understanding this right, Doc, the researchers want to find out what are the facts, what does the data say about whether it helps or not to treat children who think they are a different gender.
That's correct.
And for the overwhelming data is that it doesn't help at all for children.
Yes, that any evidence supporting it is considered of low to very low quality. They actually looked at data, and this is unlike the Cass report, where they were looking at kids who actually had surgery. And for that, they concluded that the harms associated with the surgery clearly outweighed and exceeded any potential benefits.
So we should not be treating, I mean, the facts, the overwhelming facts from across the globe and across multiple studies indicate we should not be treating children in America for with any medical intervention for gender dysphoria.
Well, one of the things that they suggested in the report is that the vast preponderance of these kids have significant mental health issues in addition to gender dysphoria.
And that does not surprise you as a psychiatrist?
No, it does not. They
need mental health care, not
and so,
medical intervention.
Yeah, and so, I mean, some of that mental health care may be medical, but not medical in the way of prescribing puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones.
So antidepressants, for lack of a better argument, versus puberty blockers.
Yeah, I mean, so that, treating the anxiety, treating the depression. One of the things that we know from the UK is that anywhere from 35 to 48% of these kids that they treated over there had an autism diagnosis. So taking that into consideration and understanding that, and providing kids with supportive counseling as they work through, developmentally some of these kinds of like identity issues without trying to push an agenda on them were some of the recommendations that they had made. And so, one of the questions that comes up is like, okay, you're a parent sitting there, like listening to this, like, what do you do? So I know the laws are different. We've got listeners in Ohio and Pennsylvania. In Ohio, our legislature had passed a law, preventing this stuff from happening, but it's tied up in court challenges and there have been stays. And so, I have no reason to believe that this isn't continuing to go on. In Pennsylvania, I believe that they're free to pretty much do like what they've been doing all along, and that there hasn't been any legislative action taken there. And so like if you're a parent listening to this, or you're a grandparent listening to this, and you have a child or a grandchild that's, struggling with gender dysphoria, and this kind of treatment is recommended, I think that folks need to take, a very serious look, at, what was found in the, study by our Health and Human Services and by the work done by the British Health Service. Because a lot of our docs right now, and we were discussing that this past Friday, I did a lecture on this subject at the National Conference for the Christian Medical Dental Association. There were docs sitting on the floor. There were a large group of docs standing outside in the hallway who weren't able to get into the room. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of interest in this, from sort of the meat
medical
and potatoes
community,
medical community.
Yeah.
And individual doctors are quite concerned, and they want to be informed in terms of what they share with patients. But because, as we had talked about, the vast preponderance of pediatricians here in Northeast Ohio are employed by hospital systems that are doing this stuff. And, when I was, talking with these folks after, the lecture I gave on Friday, docs who speak out about this are very much in danger of losing their jobs.
Why won't this new study change that?
Part of why this new study probably won't change this, and what you're hearing from the stuff that's being put out by the different medical societies through social media is that this is biased. These are people who are handpicked by the Trump administration. They already had an agenda. They just commissioned this study, to support the ban on gender-affirming care that the president tried to enact nationwide, but is tied up in all kinds of lawsuits. And so the criticisms come back that this is just simply political. It needs to be political at this point. It shouldn't be partisan, I guess, is a way of thinking about it.
Well, and the study itself can, over time, withstand the scrutiny of someone saying it's biased, as in it actually is fact-based. So I'm hopeful that over time that this is an undeniable reality that doesn't help kids, it hurts kids. So stop it. Well, are you hopeful? Please? Maybe.
I am very down on my profession right now. That one of the things that has taken a massive hit in the last 5 years is that the credibility of the medical profession in various public surveys, it's dropped from, I think, 70% before COVID to 40%. Some of it was a response to the pandemic. Some of it is this. And there are other consequences associated with this that are hard to measure. For example, I don't strictly see Christian families in my practice. I have a mix of everybody. And I know families where the parents are, secular and very politically progressive, who are scared to death to take their kid to see a counselor or a therapist because of concerns about how their child, when they're one-on-one in a vulnerable situation with this person, might be influenced to think about this as an explanation for their emotional distress. And so, it makes it, it creates an additional barrier for kids and families who could benefit from therapy because of their mistrust of the profession as a result of stuff like this.
Well, we need to keep having you back so we can keep trumpeting this information. I'm slightly encouraged, but I'm still prayerful that we can see a shift in our culture on this issue. Dr. Steve Grcevich is president and founder of Key Ministry, local child psychiatrist, not taking new patients at the moment, but you can find out more about Key Ministry, how can folks do that? www.keyministry.org. And if you check out our Key Ministry channel, you can see most, if not all, of the main stage content from our recent Disability and the Church conference that was last week in Washington, D.C., with over 600 pastors and ministry leaders in attendance. And one of the videos I think would be of particular interest to the audience that we had all Christians, a woman who is the director of the White House Office on Disability in Trump's first term, Sarah Parshall-Perry, Janet's daughter, who was an attorney in the Department of Education during Trump's first term, and Barb Dittrich, who's one of our board members who was a state representative in Wisconsin, talk specifically about the implications in terms of the changes in Washington in disability and federal education law, talk specifically about the gender stuff, and another issue of interest, which is physician-assisted suicide. And so that's all on Key Ministries' YouTube channel. Key Ministries' YouTube channel, you can find all that at keyministry.org, keyministry.org. Dr. Steve Grcevich, thank you so much for your time and expertise. Can't wait to have you back.
Thanks, guys.
It's 7:32 on WCRF.
Hello, Roland Warren here with your Pro-Abundant Life Minute. The pro-choice movement has...
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Foundation-sponsored studio. Whether it's your faith or your health, you don't have to journey alone. And Lauren, you shifted seats here for a moment.
Yes, she did.
I can't hear in these headphones, but I can hear you.
Okay. Does her mic even work over there? I don't even know. I don't have to talk to her. It's fine.
No, not right now.
You look nice, so everybody knows that, even though you're not on camera. Okay. We have some friends that came in studio, and we're so excited to introduce you to them. Many of you familiar with their work. Bettina Herman and Michelle Vernelson from Love, Inc. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think I nailed your last name, Michelle.
You did.
I didn't when you first got here.
I know, but I'm impressed.
Thank you very much. Okay, so many are familiar with Love, Inc., but there's people listening who are like, what is that? Love, Inc. What do you all do?
Well, at Love, Inc., we're a bridge that gaps. It brings together the church to serve the community. Our goal is that the church is the first reached when a client in our community is in crisis. The body of Christ is God's answer to our community of brokenness, whether it is a circumstantial situation, with rent and utilities increasing and the homelessness rate is increasing. We work with all the churches and other partners in our area to fill that gap, whether it's through our gap ministries like our clothing closet and our baby depot, or through connecting with the church and partnering with them to help with rent or utility to save a family from eviction or a family that can be in crisis and at risk for their children being placed in foster care. We try to help and relieve those burdens on them with the partnership of the churches.
So you're really focused on people who are in crisis of some sort.
Yes.
And, I was surprised with a pastor friend. If you only go to church on Sundays and like Wednesday nights, you're not there midday when someone knocks on the door at the church who's not a member who needs help. I was surprised how often that happens. Is that across the community, do you think? It's pretty regular?
A lot more than you think it is. We like to say Loving's kind of an extension of the church office to help out with those situations because it's hard to know what to do. People are in crisis.
Yeah.
People have immediate needs, and at the same time, do they have an immediate need? It's hard to know.
What kinds of things, when someone knocks on that church door before a church might reach out to you, what are they saying? I mean, because again, most of us don't see this happen. It's the church secretary, it's the pastor. What are they knocking on the door for?
Food, clothing. I need a place to stay. I don't have gas for my car. My kids are going to be taken away. I need furniture for my home. I can't get my kids back until I have furniture. I mean, they're desperate.
Well, and we've had this odd trend where I encounter Christians who, when they hear stories like that, say, I bet half of them are scammers. They're just trying to get free stuff. What's your response to that?
You can have that. So that's where Love, Inc. kind of comes in. The church often, they want to help everybody. And it can be quite a burden on them to try and help everybody and not be able to help those that really need it. So part of what we do is we kind of vet the client. We do an intake form and ask the questions and just really hear their story and meet them where they're at to see, okay, is this an immediate need like Michelle said, or is this something that, is there somewhere else we can help you to relieve the burden so that you can meet your rent payment or your utility payment, and just to see how we can best partner with them. But also we're able to look at what other churches are in that community area that can partner with us and help the client as well. So it's not just falling on the one church they knocked on.
Yeah, because, some smaller churches may not have a big, we call it at my church, a benevolence fund.
Right.
It's like a pile of cash you use when someone needs help. You're a small church and someone needs help making their mortgage. That might blow your entire fund for the month.
Right. And you don't have the bandwidth to call the mortgage company to get their paycheck stub, to get all the information you need to know if this is a legit need or not. And, we tell people, okay, always going to have charity compassion. Yes, we need to vet things. Err on the side of what's God asking you to do, but at the same time, we have a responsibility with that benevolence fund to use it wisely.
And so you all can support churches in evaluating the needs of people and what is really going on. Because I would imagine sometimes when you encounter the request, there's a deeper need. What are some of those deeper needs people are dealing with? Is it financial management? Is it abuse maybe? What is it?
It can be all sorts of things. Sometimes it is financial management. Sometimes it's addictions and things that they are struggling with themselves that is taking that income away. Sometimes it is, domestic violence or abuse or some type of trauma, whether it's in the children's lives or in the adult's life. We try to find what that root cause is and fix the root cause. Because if we're just going to meet the immediate need, they're going to be back in a month or a couple weeks for another need, instead of saying, okay, well, what is the problem here? What's your story? And when we know their story, then we can, introduce them to classes that we offer that we can, they can take, or our budget coaching with one of our employees, Rosalind, that does the budget coaching. They get online or in person, and she sets goals with them and, teaches them how to create a budget and be better with financial obligations so that they're not spending on things that, aren't a need but are a want.
Yeah. So I had a pastor friend explain to me that in some respects, you also help churches specialize in something, right? So like you can point to another church, right? If maybe they have a really great food pantry or a really great clothes closet. Is that accurate in how it's described?
Yes, you can do that. Sometimes that works better in some of the other smaller counties than loving Cuyahoga County. That's 1.5 million people. It's a little, It's a little bit difficult. But I think one of the big factors for people is shame. Is just shame keeping people stuck, and it really takes people coming alongside you to help you break out of that, to get unstuck, and I think that's something that is really difficult for us because people are messy. Yeah. And it's really hard to find people to want to be in people's lives long term because people are so messy. But shame, I think, is a huge factor for people, holding them back from really flourishing.
How do you get through the shame?
Prayer and people surrounding you, and we're waiting on God. We're waiting on God to break through that shame. You can give people the tools, you can lead them, but it's the Holy Spirit.
Well, and it's why I also love your name, because Love Inc. I mean, Michelle's a great name too. Don't worry, but and Bettina. But our team is passionate about leading with love, because there may be a scammer or two out there, but if your approach is assuming everybody's a scammer, you're going to increase the shame of someone who's in need. Right. And you can't do that. It'll crush them. So it's 7:46, time for a quick break. We're talking about the ministry Love Inc. with Bettina Herman and Michelle Vernelson in studio with us from that organization. We'll continue chatting here in just a minute.
It's not insurance, and that's a new way of thinking for some families. Christian Healthcare Ministries is a credible way to meet family healthcare costs affordably, biblically, and effectively, whether starting or growing your family. Serving families as a nonprofit healthcare sharing ministry for over 40 years, CHM has offered families the freedom to choose how they would like to meet healthcare costs. Be pleasantly surprised and find answers to your questions at chministries.org/Moody. That's chministries.org/Moody.
There are many ways to say,
I love you, Mom. I love you, Mommy. I love you, Mom.
we have an idea. Enter our Moments with Mom contest for a chance to give your mom, mother figure, or yourself a $550 gift package, a gift certificate for a day at the spa, and a $100 gift card to a variety of restaurants will go to a mother who reflects the love of Christ. Go to moodyradio.org/Cleveland or text MOM to 440-546-2255. We'd love to help you say,
I love you, Mom.
Moody Radio is thankful for support from businesses across the country, like Fellowship Home Loans. Whether purchasing or refinancing a home, Mike and Brian walk hand in hand with clients through the whole process. You can learn more about their approach to mortgage lending at fellowshiphomeloans.com.
Moody Radio is thankful for support from North Coast Family Foundation, giving hope to those struggling with depression, anxiety, and trauma through Christian counseling. More information is at northcoastfamily.com. That's northcoastfamily.com.
Join the conversation. Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3.
850 WCRF Mornings with Brian. Don't forget to text us the word mom to 440-546-2255. Text mom to 440-546-2255. Send you back a link and you can register for your chance to win the Mother's Day prize pack. It's 2 gift cards, one to a spa in Chagrin Falls and the other one to a group of restaurants. And make sure to emphasize it's not McDonald's, Burger King, and Taco Bell. It's fancy restaurants that the name doesn't include what they make.
Right.
So you know it's good. It's not like Burger King, right? Yeah, okay. So in studio with us is our new friends from Love Inc. Ministry here in Northeast Ohio, Bettina Herman and Michelle Vernelson. And we're chatting kind of about their mission and what they accomplish in our community. And I love that you brought up, Michelle, the idea of how much of an obstacle shame is for people. And I would imagine that you're seeing, and I could be, correct me if I'm wrong here, in the state of our economy at the moment, you all must have a lot more people experiencing shame and need. Are you seeing an uptick? And what does that look like?
There's definitely an uptick. We are in the process of just kind of looking for volunteers to help with our connection center, to be on the phone to help us be able to at least get more of those calls in, and, you know, just really praying about who we help and where we help. You know, Cuyahoga County has a lot of agencies and other organizations that also help with these sort of things, but most of them are set a limit of what they can spend. And ours is donor-based and church partnership-based. So we kind of try to help come alongside that and meet those needs as well, to just be another avenue for these families and clients that are in crisis. With the rising rent and utility prices, even car repairs, we really seen a lot more clients calling in needing help.
So the more donors and volunteers and church partnerships you have, the more you can do.
Absolutely.
Is how the formula works. You don't have some sort of state agency capping the work that you're doing, which is fantastic, but it also means you need more support.
Yes.
Doing that ground level work on behalf of churches. How can people get involved in this? I want to be sure we spike that ball a few times here, because we all feel the pinch of the economy, the way it's going, the job market. So how can people either volunteer or donate? How can they find out?
They can go to our website, www.loveincchi.org, or they can email us at info@loveincchi.org.
Now, what are some of the misunderstandings that you encounter from people about the needs you have?
I think one of them is, they just need to get a job. Okay, but what if no one ever taught you how to work? What if we assume people know everything we know, right? Everybody was brought up, everybody knows, and they don't. And people who have not been taught need someone to teach them or come alongside them. You know, it's not just read a book and figure it out. It really, it takes people walking alongside people. And I think that's one of the biggest barriers for us as an organization. And you hear it from, every nonprofit is you just need people. And
and that's it. Just get a job. It sounds simple, right?
Right.
And it blows someone's mind that you say that they have to be taught how to work. Like, what do you even mean? Just work. It's like a human thing.
But if you never saw anyone in your realm working, no one went to a job, no one got up and went to a job, how do you think that person's ever going to know that that's what you do?
Yeah, we take for granted that we learn just by, osmosis. You watch your parents do something and that's what you do, which is why somebody may not know how to work.
Right.
And, I had a buddy who helped somebody he knew at his church try to get a job, got him a great job. The guy didn't show up. And he's like, "What's wrong?" "I couldn't get there," he said. Getting a job, if you don't have transportation, suddenly your options are dramatically limited.
Right. And what have we done in Cuyahoga County? We keep cutting our bus service, right? So, we have worked with people, gotten them a job. They literally ride the bus for an hour and still walk a mile to get to that job that's $15 an hour. Glory, hallelujah, more power to them. That takes an amazing amount of fortitude to do that. And you really need somebody saying, "Hey, keep going, keep going. How can I encourage you to keep going in that?" When everybody around you is saying, why are you doing that?
And I'd imagine even the limits of public transit in Cuyahoga County are wider than people imagine, where like you can't take a bus.
Absolutely.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like if I live in Parma, if I wanted, my husband works downtown, so that's an easy, pretty bus ride. Still takes 35 minutes. But if you want to get across town, you have to go all the way downtown, get on another bus transfer, and then go to the east side. Getting from the east side to the west side is very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
What other obstacles are people facing when they're in need and they come to your door at Love Inc. in terms of being able to find success?
I would say the biggest obstacle, like Michelle said, is the generational curse of, this is what they've always lived in, and they think that that's where they're always going to be. And that's where we come in to try to teach them, no, you don't have to stay stuck here. And with society overstimulating our younger generations and just putting that mindset into everyone that, this is where you'll stay, that's where we need to bring the church and bring them more involved in this is, no, God can fix this for you if you're willing to be motivated and allow him to. So we, I feel like that need is going to continue growing just because of the trajectory of where we are heading as a society with the way that the world is trying to keep people stuck in these places. And we want to pull them out of that and bring that church back in. Back when I was a kid, the church was the first place you went when you were in crisis. And now it's, calling 211 or whatever. And those are all great resources, but there's other places that want to get you planted into a church and get those people, like Michelle said, around you that are going to walk with you, that want to walk with you through this so that you can break that curse and have a successful life and a better life and an abundant life like God promises us.
So now if someone's heartstrings have been pulled by our conversation today and they're like, maybe Love Inc. is somewhere where I could plug in, donate, like what are you looking for in terms of your needs at the moment?
I would say our biggest needs at the moment would be just more funding in our blessing fund to be able to help more families. We're recently preparing to get a program called Care Portal launched into many of our churches, and that is a program that churches can utilize to put in needs for families that are at risk of losing their children to the foster care system or kinship care so that we can get ahead of them and help them keep their kids in the home. Our foster care system is so overwhelmed right now. We have children that are sleeping in the agency or in hotels with social workers. Like it's a big need. And that's part of where we want to come in and help. Like, how can we get you the furniture that you need in your house, a bed for your kid so that the agency doesn't take you or take your kids away? There's other programs that we can give them referrals to or resources for that can, come alongside and help them on a temporary basis, like Safe Families, to take the child while they get all their affairs in order so that they don't lose their kid into foster care. We want to keep our families together. That's what God intended. Our biggest way to help right now would be, more funding for the rent, utility assistance and things like that. We work with a great ministry for furniture, and we take into our organization donations for clothes from infant through adult. Just trying to help these families have what they need, whether it's clothes for an interview or diapers and wipes for the baby, anything that we can help with. And we're also building a nice resource spreadsheet to be able to give them other resources and not just hand them a phone number to call, but connect them directly with that person through a referral process so that they can. One of the things with people in crisis that I noticed through other ministries I've worked in is if you hand them phone numbers, 9 chances out of 10 they're not calling that number because they're overwhelmed already in crisis. They're not thinking straight. They don't want to call these different places. So just finding referral processes where we can actually connect them directly to a social worker or a case manager that's going to help them more of like a one-stop shop to get them plugged into all the places to get the help they need.
Well, this is the work that the Lord Jesus has called us to do, and we're so grateful that Love Inc. is doing it, and we know you need more things, and that's what our listeners can help you with. So, again, remind people who grabbed a pen and missed it before, how can they plug into Love Inc.?
You can look up Love Inc. of Cuyahoga County on our Facebook page. You can also go to our website, www.loveinccuy.org. And you can also email info@loveincchi.org. On our website, you will see that we have a golf outing coming up in June.
Ooh, fun.
So if you want to learn more about Love Inc., please sign up, register, and if you like to golf, come attend. If you don't, and your husband does, then bring him along and let him golf, and you can just learn more about our organization.
And if you need help connecting, just let us know. We'll be glad to connect you with them as well. Maybe you don't have a pen or whatever. So special thanks again to Bettina Herman and Michelle Vernelson for your help here talking about Love Inc. today. We're so grateful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, coming up in a few minutes, Dr. Rydelnik will answer your Bible questions. You just have to ask him. 440-546-2255.
It's